So, welcome everyone again to another wonderful podcast of the Pan-African Connect podcast. And this evening, we're going to be discussing a very wonderful topic, which is the rule of balance, where we're going to be looking at emotions versus mind. We're going to be discussing our different experiences and how we can move forward as a black race, as the melanated race. And this evening, we have great comrades on the call. We have our podcaster, Comrade Yomi. We have Comrade Additional, and we have Comrade Nancy. And I'll be the co-podcaster for this evening podcast. We're really going to be talking about a whole lot, about our experiences and how it has been able to shape our reality. Yomi is going to give us his experiences, about his childhood, friendship breakup. He's also going to give us experiences about, where he has gone through as a child, growing up in different, background. His father in one side, his mother in another side, and how that has been able to shape him, right? And also, our comrade additional is also going to tell us about expressing yourself, because in this our society right now, it's very hard to express yourself. We have to be very confident in expressing ourselves. We have to be very confident in expressing our emotions. That's how we can be able to move as a race, as a collective. And our good comrade Nancy is just going to, be giving out our energy while we're on this great podcast. So I'll move the mic to Comrade Yomi to begin with, what has happened, when you decided to, take this new journey, what has been the reaction of your friends, right? How have they reacted when you decided to, start, expressing yourself? When you have decided to start, going through, a journey of, getting people together, right? This journey of healing. How have people reacted, and also, give us a background of what has happened, your upbringing, how it has, made you who you are right now. And this healing process of, coming out, expressing yourself to the world, and also letting our listeners understand because, we want to be able to, let people around, express themselves. They shouldn't be shy of expressing themselves. They should be happy when they are expressing their emotions because we're trying to create a better race. So, Comrade Yomi, please just, give us a brief view and give us, your journey. Let us understand your journey so that other people can be able to, tap in with this your journey story. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me loud and clear. So, welcome to another Pan-Afri Connect podcast session. It's been a while. So, on our topic today, just to make it real quick, which is the rule balance. The rule balance between mind and versus emotions. So, I'll be speaking from the content of childhood friend breakup. So that's number one, our podcast structure. So on my own experience, in childhood friend breakup, so I have like three contents under this childhood friend breakup. So I will just quickly outline the three contents, which is number one is the livelihood. If you talk about the livelihood, and then I will talk about the hospitality from the neighbors around, and also I will still talk about the activities and then the educational background of us. You understand? So then before I move to number two on our structure podcast, and our structure podcast content, which is the parental manipulation. But let me start with number one, which is the childhood friend breakup. So the livelihood to me, first of all, we were just here to express ourselves and to share our experience and to see how we've been able to cope, through the storms of life, because we were brought up with a group of friends as a child. So I can't even say maybe we are 10, we were 15, but let me just say we were just like a group. But I know we were more than 10, and we were so, genius in what we are doing. And me being me personally, I I identify my own potentials, and then everyone has its own purpose to fulfill. So if you have your own purpose to fulfill, so your livelihood will determine where you're going to end. So in terms of livelihood, we're talking about let me say, starting from the age of two, let me say 2 to 4. So that was when we were attending primary and nursery school. So I were trying to live through these days, and then how we see each other, what we learn in school, number one, and then when we get home, what we see in our society, what our society, like for me, for example, I was brought up in an environment which is it's a roofless environment. It's kind of like a ghetto. It's kind of like a ghetto, Ijora. So how a child is going to going to school every day. I went to private school in my primary school. Between my nursery and primary school, I went to private school. So we getting home every day, seeing what our brothers, uncles are doing, what our friends are doing in our society, even though most of us doesn't even attend the same school. And what we do every day will definitely create our livelihood. And people can even see where some of us are even going to end. And if we're talking about our livelihood, maybe when the brain starts, when even I think it's until you get to age 12 or 15, that was when you started understanding how your brain functions. But between the age 0 to age 12 to 15, your brain will have been capturing everything going on in your society through your eyes, through your ears. The ears, that one, it only records the audio, while the eyes, it's only captured. So whatever these eyes and then ears has been captured, so far from age 0 to age 15 are going to determine, how you're going to end up, and also your livelihood, which is your society. It's going to tell you, how you're going to, end up. So it's now depend on you. That was at the stage when you moved to junior secondary school. And if you are going to check Nigerian educational system, starting from the lower grade, it has been rough for an individual, even as a child, for you to be able to leave the school at your normal time, when school resume by 7:30, and then you close by 2, and then you do your lessons by 2 to 3:30, and then 3:30 to 5 for extra lessons. We find it hard during those days to being able to put all our assignments together. So we just take off whatever we are taught in school. Then we just get into the community again. We get we just have to drop everything, and then you move to the society to go and do some activities. And all these activities are they are various, like you play ball in the streets, what you learn in the streets, what you learn from other colleagues in the streets, what you learn from the big brothers in the streets, what they tell you, what they tell you to do, what they give you even to even drink when your parents are not even there. All these things are just like something they are just together, and it's all shape our livelihood at the end of the day. So that in some ways, when you see people growing up from primary school, then they move to junior and senior secondary school, you see their lifestyle will definitely change. It will definitely change. So that was when this is where I will talk about the hospitality from neighbors. Some neighbors we have, in our own communities. Then, like I mentioned, the way people see a child, when you are kind of, I don't know, maybe when you're kind of brilliant and then you're trying to just, find your own way, it's kind of difficult for you to grow in that environment if your parents, so this will lead us to the parental manipulation. If your parents are not staying together, it's kind of difficult. Maybe you're raised by a single mother, or maybe probably you're raised by a single father. It will definitely shape your livelihood also in the future. So if you're talking about family, we're supposed to a lot of things that deserted our society these days. A lot of things that as break so many relations, as break so many friends, in terms of how family raised individuals. Like, for instance, when you're raised by both by a father and a mother, you can identify someone that was raised by okay, this person is raised by his mother and her father. I'm sorry, her mother and his father. If you're raised by your biological father and mother, it will definitely shows in you that okay, you're raised. And then, even though if your father and mother are alive, and then they take that responsibility. And also, that was why I said the livelihood, even though if you check the livelihood of those who gave birth to us, you understand, how do they understand this livelihood much? Do they understand this livelihood in terms of we want to be progressive, or we just want to give our children at least a little bit of push up, and then while we're doing our own thing. And then this will make me question the divorce, like what even bring about divorce in the first place. And if divorce should come, if divorce should come in a family, then we should know, like, the children involved are going to be, they are going to be scattered, in every ways, in terms of, learning, in terms of, adapting to situation, in terms of responding to society comments, in terms of, their point of view of their society. When you live in a state, like, okay, you live in Lagos State, for instance, say you live in Lagos State, Surulere, say now there you grew up for that area with your popsy and momsy. The way them go treat you from child, if your parents are kind of people that really respect themselves a lot, and if they are kind of people who understand the philosophy of life, who understand the greatness of the greatness in child, who understand the greatness in child, they're going to take this more diligent, and then also more serious. So, and then in our own situation where things have been like this, and then where we have a lot of violence in the society, we have a lot of imbalance between neighbors, and then we have a lot of a lot happening in the society, which maybe, for instance, as I'm saying, in terms of divorce. So mama and papa now, mama don't go her own way, and then papa said don't go in own way. Even for you as a child to even know the cause of this divorce, it will be even hard. So this brings the parental manipulations, and then that is why maybe for some of us, or for me like this, that I'm used to my mom a lot, so they will just be in a kind of way, like portraying some kind of a generational words, some generational cause, and some generational interpretation to us, like, okay, these are what your fathers are doing then, these are the reason why we're not being together, they were uneducated, they were lazy, they were that, you understand. So they're trying to paint the picture for us to see, like, okay, this is the reason why our livelihood has been like this. And for as individual as me, that I understand, okay, a lot of things that even cause this divorce, they can't even, state the real facts. So, it's now boils down to, they'll now be saying something like a generational cause. And then, it's now left for an individual when you get to some certain age for you to understand all these things. And, you that you've been in the dark, let's say for instance, like me, I'm using myself as an experience on this podcast. I lost my father in 2012. And even before I lost my father, he has find it so hard, to relate with me what really happens, in the family. Me being the first son, even at the point of his dying, he was even looking for me then, and me, I was even in Lagos. He was in Ibadan. He's on a sick bed, and he was even looking for me. People were even telling me when I got to Ibadan that year, say, okay, your papa they look for you, won't tell you something, and everybody refused to tell me. They refused to tell me. So I didn't know. Maybe my mom refused to tell me, but I know something was hidden. Like all this kind of generational abuse and hidden stuff. It's really much in our own society these days. And then all these things also shapes our livelihood. No more of like someone who grew up in an urban area, someone who grew up in an urban area with both his an appearance. The lifestyle
Exactly.
we kind of look different. If you look at it very well, the lifestyle will
Exactly.
definitely look different. So I would just put a stop on that for now and let other comrades chime in before we move on to the next content.
Yeah. Thank you, Yomi. These words we just, drop for our listeners and for our fellow Nigerians and Africans, a very wonderful word. You're really telling us as it be, when you grow up from the slums, that shapes your mind, right? Because, it be like, say, you grow up from a limited space. Same thing with me, growing up from where I grew up, we were so, kept in the dark, right? We're so kept in the dark. And that's why when I reach my time, I will still talk about, religion. Because, growing up, we grew up in a space where, the institution, the church institution my parents were going to, they said, we should not watch TV, we should not watch television, that it was a devil's box, right? So you can see the mental deterioration that has to do with my own childhood. Because, when I even went to school, my friends go to talk about, different cartoons, different things, me, I go just dey look because, the church where they go on, they go tell you, say, the TV is a devil's box. Now where devil they always, they send the information, right? So it's so crazy because the environment builds who we are, and that's why now we don't even express ourselves because we didn't grow up in an environment where families sat down together, watch different things, enjoy themselves. It's also separated, and that has a whole lot of effect on the child. So very important point, and you talked about divorce. When two parents, and I saw that within my own parent also. It's like they were tug of war between two families, right? The mama side go talk say this, the father side is always doing this. They are always like this. They are always self-centered. The papa side also go talk say the mama side they can't make it, right? So and it's unconscious. They do this unconsciously. And they don't know that we as children will pick all these, little clues, which makes us not really express ourselves. And now we can see that, it's even very hard, growing up to really express myself to my parents is really hard because, those clues have been into my own DNA, right? And that's why we're having this kind of conversation. So I will move the mic to Comrade Additional to really tell us of how do we let go? How do we, say, okay, we've gotten to know all this, Now not to let go, now not to stay free, right? Because we can't be put in a box. Because it be like say, growing up, they don't put us inside box. So we can't think beyond this box. When we dey express ourselves, that means we dey weak. So how do we let go? So communication or rebel, give us how we go feel let go. How can we start, balancing our emotions with our mind? And when we start to express our emotions, we don't get scared of, these people go use them against me. So I beg, just give us, your view on how to let go, how to express ourselves, and also our listeners, make them feel understand. Say, when it gets to a point in their life, when they did a crossroad, how they go feel express themselves, how they go feel let go, right? So give us that view, Comrade Ruben.
Yeah, I salute everyone. I hope I'm audible enough.
Loud and clear.
The thing is saying, uh, we should not dwell in our emotions too much, like, because our emotions are tools we use to rebalance the mind. And if you are not living out of ego, then you are not entitled to dwell in emotions. By entitlement, yeah, I mean what nature gives to help you, your true self, not your ego. Yeah, people are entitled to health. People are entitled to intelligence. For instance, if somebody steps on your toe, how long do you have to be angry for you to realize that you can't change the fact that you got your toe stepped on? And the part of your emotion that you are entitled to remember the definition is where it helps you to balance your mind to its normal self again. You got your toe stepped on, right? You felt pain, which is unnatural. So to get back into balance, that's nature, your true self. You produce anger to deal with whoever wronged you. Once the situation is solved, you have to come back to your natural self again. I'll say staying angry after that will do you no good. So, from my own view, though, I think we are only entitled to balance. The part of your emotion that you are not entitled to is where you dwell in them. When you are no longer using them as a tool of expression to get back into balance, but you are using them to dwell on one side, then you are no longer rebalancing, but just feeding the ego. Ego meaning the false self, your false identity. That's why there are people who are angry all the time, because there is an unconscious part of them that enjoys it. That part is the ego. Now, the thing is, people can usually spot it when it's emotion like anger, but with sadness. Sorry, because people have created a culture of dwelling because of fearing of being insensitive, so they let people dwell. Like, for example, when you lose someone close to you, you have a grieving period. The space is for you to get balance, to get yourself balanced again, because you have unfortunately been put to one side of the scale, which is sadness by the loss of your loved one. And it's not for you to dwell in the loss. Like, during the time of our ancestors, when our ancestors lost someone, they would sing praises from that moment. Praises such as uh, uh, um, a dark cloud has befallen our village, but the great slayer of beasts forever lives. Death has taken one of us. That does not mean it won't take the rest of us. So lives continue. We should not dwell in that. And from the moment the loss would hit them, they knew that they had to express their pain, but at the same time, to go back to balance. Hence, they remind themselves of the goodness of the person they lost as they mourn. And the goodness counters the pain, which is bringing balance to them. Do you realize everyone that has ever lived has died? Meaning, if no one ever let go, then we would all be sad because everyone has lost someone. And that will make sadness go on a rapid spree. So if we never understood not to dwell, then we would stay on one side, which is we will be sad all the time, which after a while becomes what we call depression. Because in nature, the dirtiest water is still, the cleanest is moving water. So we have to keep moving, to balance the mind and keep moving, and see how nature rapidly transforms your life positively. Thank you.
Comrade Gabriel, these are real wonderful points, and our listeners, we they really give them real gem, right? Letting go, right? As Comrade Gabriel don't talk, you go through the process of the pain, you go through the process of the anger, but you have to let go. You have to come back to my heart, which is balance, right? You have to come back to my heart, which is balance, which is our true nature. And like you said, if we stuck in one position, we just keep dying. But we have to keep flowing because at the end of the day, a water that leaves flow, it moves. So these are very wonderful points so that our listeners can really understand, because most of us are still taking the generational baggage of what our parents don't do. It's still in our DNA. We are still angry because sometimes most of our parents didn't show us attention, and that's what we wanted, right? Sometimes we go through the age of loved ones. So we have to let go. We have to release those baggages, and that's what we're doing right now. We're creating a new race. So for all our listeners that are also going to listen to this podcast, for them to come into their own balance, let's go. Be happy with yourself. We can't dwell in the past. The past is our lesson, but the future is what we want, a better future, a better race. And that's what we want. We want a race where everyone is happy. We're not going to say we've not gone through a very bad experience, but we can't dwell on that experience. We have to be able to release. We have to be able to express ourselves, express our pain. We can't be shy of our pain, right? And that's what we're doing right now. And that will take me to my own points where, we have to look at the manipulation, because even most of our parents also went through those pain. And now they are trying to project those pain on we, the children. But for the next coming generation, we're not going to project our pain on our own children. We're not going to project the pain of, tradition, religion, right? Because we as Africans, we've gone through the worst, but we're still standing. So we're not going to project that. We're not going to project the pain of, if you don't follow my religion, then, you can't be my son. You can't be my daughter. We have to let our children be. Let them be creative. Let them choose what they want to choose. Let them be who they want to be. Let them come back to their own balance. Let them enjoy the source of nature. Let them be lively. Let them have that creativity to, express themselves, be creative with art. Let them be able to express themselves as they see reality. Let them not be boxed into, this myopic view of, this the world and this how you should conduct yourself. So that's what we're doing right now. We're trying to heal ourselves. We're trying to shed, those baggages that they've put on us. And we employ our listeners also, this is a wake-up call. That's why we're having this Pan-Afri Connect podcast. This is a wake-up call for all Africans. It's time to let go. It's time to speak into our power. All those pains of, our yesteryears, it's time to, change that. We are powerful when we start expressing ourselves. We are powerful when we start, speaking, coming together, creating a new race of new brothers, of new sisters, creating a race of, new brotherhood. It's okay for a man to cry, it's okay for us to share those tears. Because, like they say, the eyes is the window to our soul. So let's share those tears. Let's, release those baggages. And then, we can, create better race and, keep moving in this healing process. Keep, energizing ourselves as we move on. So, comrades, because of our time, if there are any other final words we want to add towards this, the time is now, any questions, any resolutions, anything you want our listeners also to, put in their mind as we are in this process of evolution, the floor is open for any comments that wants to, chime in. Please just unmute and share with, our listeners. Thank you.
Thank you, Komiji, for that wonderful remarks on our topic for today. So I will just drop one or two remarks before we round up our session on what's it called, on mind and emotions. If you look at the psychological effects of mind in the first place, how mind, how it attracts a lot of things, like as Commendation said, these our minds, it's just, when you're talking about emotions, our emotion is just like something that um used to balance the mind. It's used to balance the mind. Not, you are not supposed to be using it against it, which is some part of our our dwelling, which is still unconscious. You understand? So which we need to be conscious of, so that we won't use these emotional states to create a negativity in our own life. You understand? So if we understand what most of the things that our mind attracts all day, and also how our brain stores these memories, and I believe, as Comrade J also said, this our eyes is a window to our soul. And these eyes, it sees a lot, and sure, it's normal for people to cry. Yes, it's normal for people to cry. But when you're crying, we should just try to understand that our emotion is very, very important for us to know how to balance it. When you're in a state of a devastation, and then you should try to make sure you balance that state, so that it doesn't drain you, so that it doesn't drain us. More of like me, that I'm going through a lot at the moment, but I'm trying to make sure I find a balance in between the mind, because everything comes, it's boxed up to the mind, because it's going to show in your physical appearance. It will show in how you appear. You can't even see how you even appear to to most people. So they are just the one. You can only say, okay, you are fighting this, you are going through that, but people are the one to, they are going to mark your, they'll be the one to mark your results. You can only give details, and then that's our own opinion, and then our opinion is broadened. We learn every day. So I would just say, for our listeners, they should just try and to understand what they are learning, and then what they are listening to, so that they can find emotional balance whenever they are in a devastation state. So let me just keep it there. Thank you, comrade.
Thank you, Comrade Yomi, for that. It's when we come together, like I said, we're creating a allegiance to our brothers, our sisters, right? No one knows what we're going through. We can only, share the detail. But when we come together, we become a stronger force, right? That's why we are here to support ourselves. We are not pledging any allegiance to a nation or a symbol. We're pledging allegiance to ourselves, our brothers. When our brother is down, we can motivate them. When they feel depressed, we can support them with kind words, with songs, with chants. That's the only way we can really, create a better race. And this is what we're doing. And we hope all our listeners, because many people are going through a whole lot, right? There's too many pressures. We put ourselves on too many pressure. But when we come as a race like this and say, we want to start healing ourselves, we want to start telling ourselves the truth, that's the only way we can really, support ourselves and go past the stage we're in right now. So I don't know, Comrade, additional, do you want to add any other thing before we call this wonderful section, which is the rule of balance, to a close?
Yeah, I don't get any other thing to talk. My final resolution is just take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. A luta continua.
Victoria Asata. Comrades, thank you once again for this wonderful section on the Pan-Afri Connect podcast,
Can
episode
you
4.
guys hear me?
Yes, Comrade
Can you
Nancy.
guys?
Yeah, we can hear you. Please give us your 2 cents, please.
I enjoyed the conversation, and I just wanted to say that it's such a good thing to see young African brothers come together and pledge allegiance to themselves and not to any movement, not to any party, not to like it's such a powerful thing. I really want to appreciate you guys for that. And I think this is a conversation that we should have as often as possible because truly there's a lot of healing that needs to be done. And the mere fact that we're beginning to realize that it is important that we go through a healing process is a win on its own. So I just wanted to add a few tips that I personally use to help myself heal because whether we like it or not, we are we are a race of people who have a lot of traumas locked inside of us. I don't think there's anyone who is free from it. A lot of damage has been done intentionally and unintentionally. And because of that, we find it difficult to truly come into our power. We find it difficult to understand and recognize who we truly are as a people. So some of the tips that I personally use to help with healing, I say this all the time, even when we talk on other platforms, it is very important, very, very important to exercise. I mean, I'm beginning to sound like a broken record, but I believe that, or no, let me say, I know that the benefits of exercising not just the body but the mind, it is such a powerful force when it comes to your healing process. And here is why. It's been proven scientifically that people who work out, people who take their time, I mean, you don't have to do rigorous exercises. People who take their time to exercise are actually helping their brains. It helps you relax. It helps you avoid certain kinds of diseases. It helps your brain think better. It ushers you into a different kind of world because now you have that ability to control your body and your mind. That is one. Another powerful thing that I do is I don't joke with the sun. My brothers, see, I can't tell you people how healing, how refreshing the sun is. So long as I see the sun, I make sure I bathe in it. It doesn't matter for how long, because I know we all have busy lives. But once I look out my window and I see the morning sun, especially, I make sure that I come in contact with the sun, at least for 1 hour. I walk in the sun. It is a way to not just revive. You know, we are carbon beings. I'm sure we understand this. We have melanin in us, which is highly activated by the sun. It also helps heal your body of, certain clogs. It opens your third eye. For those of us who believe in the third eye, your third eye is, the space, the spot between your eyebrows. That's your third eye. It helps you when you want to actually activate the power within. Another thing that I do is that I meditate. It is very important that we find ways to keep our minds still. Like I think it was Additional that mentioned that about all the plenty thoughts that comes to our minds every day as human beings. It is a lot to deal with, especially when you don't have good things to think about. But what meditation helps you do is to disconnect you and to teach you that you are not your mind, you are not your body, you're just consciousness who has come to this plane to experience all that life is so that you can grow into who you are supposed to be, fulfill your own reason for deciding to come here, and then meet your higher self and transcend into the glorious being that you have always been. No matter how short it is, find time every day to meditate. Meditation is simply breathing in and breathing out. When you do that, I mean, everybody breathes, but how many people breathe consciously? When you pause, find any time of your day to do it, and you intentionally breathe. You're breathing with life. You're saying to life, I am here. I know that I am here. And irrespective of all of these distractions, all of these traumas, all of these difficulties, I am, if not anything, grateful that I can breathe. With breathing, you not only control your mind, you help your body. Science has also proven that people who meditate constantly have a certain wavelength of which they're on. Sadness will have nothing on you. Doesn't mean that there will be no times when you'll be sad and you'll feel like, you'll be experiencing all of these negative emotions. No. But what that means is you will be able to take charge of it. You won't, like, who even said that? I think it was also Comrade Additional. You will not linger for long. You will not dwell in sadness to the point that is going to lead you into depression. You'll be healing your body and you'll be healing your mind. Another thing that I try to do, because I mean, there is no way that you will, after understanding that the battles that you've been fighting all of this time is ingrained inside of you. I mean, it's not because your parents really wanted to hurt you, but it is just what they knew to do. And they thought they were doing right by you. All of those sad, negative experiences can only be healed from when you are conscious and intentional about these things I've mentioned. And another thing that plays a great role in that is being cautious about how you eat, what you eat, who you eat from. I say this all the time. I believe that as as terrible as the experiences we have here in the continent of Africa, if there's anything that we're blessed with, is that we can still get real natural raw foods, foods that grow from the earth, foods that have not been manipulated, foods that when you eat them, they actually energize you, recharge not just your spirit, but your bodies. So it's very important that you become conscious of how you feed. You will not only be feeding your body with one of the strongest things on earth that have high frequencies and vibration, which are fruits and vegetables that are grown in the soil from the ground. Because in case they did not tell you, our ancestors were not mad when they were walking around on bare feet. The earth, the bare floor alone, the ground we walk on, it is so healing. So when you eat foods that are grown from the ground, you eat raw food, fresh foods. Sometimes when you day in 1 week or in 3 days, decide to not eat anything that is cooked. And then check how you feel within and without. You will notice that in that period, in that time, almost nothing negative can touch you. If there are things you're trying to manifest, projects you're running after, things you're trying to bring from your imaginative mind into the physical, you will see them happening because now you're taking steps to align with yourself, to be the God that you are. So I wanted to say it is very important that these things are mentioned, we start to practice them. Yes, it is not easy. I am not going to sit right here and tell you that the healing process is easy. It is not easy. It is not a fun process. Sometimes you will be in a state of confusion. There are times when I am upset and I don't even know what's making me upset. There are times when I wake up and there's all of this rage inside me. But then I remember, I am not my body. I am not my mind. I am not even the thoughts in my head. That I find a spot, I sit still, I breathe in, I breathe out, and I just watch all of those troubling feelings pass away. Something else you can also try. As much as you can walk on bare floor, please, my brothers, do. You can do your own personal research on all of these things that I'm sharing with us today, but I believe that some of us already know these things. As much as you can, take off your shoes, take off those socks, go out into your streets. If you have bare floor on the ground, like actual sand, better for you. Walk on it, stand in it, energize yourself, allow the earth to heal you, and we will be fine. It's really great that we're having this conversation, and I truly believe in each one teaching one. It was what our ancestors did. It's why we used to have all of those moonlight um, story times when people would sit around and gather around and share stories and share experiences and discuss life. Today we can do that through podcasts, and I am so grateful for it. So I would just like to say, well done, brothers. I think it's my first time of joining our live conversation, and I am really glad that you guys gave me the opportunity to share some of these things. And I hope that we keep this beautiful space that we have safe enough to keep having conversations like this that will go forward and help other brothers and sisters of ours come into the truth of who they are and then begin their own healing journey. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Nancy, for that. This is a very wonderful tip, and I believe our listeners will keep learning, will keep growing, and will become a very greater race. Comrades, because of our time, we've come to the end of this Pan-Afri Connect podcast. We'll meet again, same time, same place, next week. Aluta Konsunua.
Victoria Asata.
Korea, Asata.
Major, I see my video, I beg, make we start.